Hello, my name is Rebecca Skillen. I am a CC Director of Foundations and Essentials, and this is my tutor / director prep for CC Cycle 2, Week 5. We only have one more week of this quarter. All right, so a couple things. This is my expectations, and this, I realized I had kind of edited this from someone else's creation, and then realized in the last week that this actually corresponds to our family covenant that we have the families sign as well as the kids sign the bottom, which states that they will act appropriately, participate in class, that they will respect their tutor / licensed director in words and actions. They will work on weekly program work to the best of their ability, and they will honor their peers and other students in the program in words and in actions. And honestly, I feel like this is appropriate for all of the kids in CC, but also the parents. We're going into week 5. Week 1 is over, all the newness is over, we're kind of getting into some routines, and some habits may be coming out that we love, and some habits that we need to address. So I encourage directors, but also tutors to have conversations with your families. And again, if that is something that a director needs to get involved in, I encourage all directors to have those uplifting and encouraging conversations. So that is where we're going with that. We go over our expectations every week in General Assembly, and then I leave it to my tutors to add to that or interpret how they're going to use expectations in the room that they are facilitating. One other thing in that, also the whole honoring their peers and other students, or in our expectations, I am kind and I am an encourager. My mind is smart and I love to learn. My heart obeys and does what is right, and I will do my best, is respecting our time of presentations, whether that's family presentations in General Assembly or whether that is in our community, the 2-minute presentation for each student in Foundations. One of the things that I used as a tutor in the last class that I tutored was just a simple stick in the sand, yellow construction paper, red construction paper. And I had a stopwatch. I did use my phone for that, but I did have my stopwatch out. I would set the time, and as they were winding down, under a minute, 30 seconds or so, this would go up. And when the 2-minute mark went up, this went up, which meant I had a right to stop you if you didn't stop. So if you saw the red construction go up, that meant it didn't matter if your presentation was done or not, your presentation was over. That concludes my presentation. Any questions, or what questions do you have, so that we could respect the rest of the class. And also, it's really hard for some people to be quiet for a straight 2 minutes and actively listen. And so respecting our peers who are doing the best that they can to actively listen, we need to keep those presentations short so that they can ask questions and we can move on to the next one. So that's a little bit of my thing. I know that the kids that were in the class that I was tutoring last year, I've sat in on their class, and it's neat to see the different skills that I pointed out to them as things that they might want to incorporate into their presentations. It's really neat to see how the families interpreted those and how they embraced them. So I think it's really great to do encouragements and to be respectful of the class in all aspects. So there's my little soapbox and experience as a tutor and my limited experience as a director this year. So getting ready for the week, looking at the memory work for this week, it's math. It's 9s and 10s. 9s, you're going to have the song. 10s, you're going to have a chant. Like I've always said, math is my time to do aerobics when I would tutor, whether that's through an agility ladder, whether that's walking through different, cross-body activities. That was our time to get the wiggles out and get focused on the day. However, we would do geography first, typically, get them focused. So let's reverse that real quick. My class would come in and I would review the expectations with them and we would pray. So I would start my class with prayer, and I would speak each kid's name individually and pray blessings over all of them, and that we would do our best for the day. And then we'd start with geography sitting at the desks or at the table. The one thing that I find interesting about our European countries this week, as well as in our history sentence, is that in the CD it pronounces it Orleans, which is how, yes, we pronounce New Orleans here in the States. However, Orleans in France is not pronounced Orleans. I did some pronunciation guide, and without horribly mispronouncing French, because I did not take French in high school, but something to the effect of Orléans. So it's London, Paris, Barcelona, Rome, Orléans, or you can just say Orleans and just tell them that in many things, like we've learned a lot in this year, that Kyiv and Kiev, depending on where you are from and what is going on in the world, I'd always heard it pronounced Kiev, and now the Ukrainian pronunciation of Kyiv is how you're hearing it in current events. So Orleans, it's how we pronounce it, but maybe you want to talk to them and just kind of drop that little tidbit in that in French it's something similar to Orléans, because we talk about the battle or the siege of Orleans in the history song, but we pronounce it Orleans. So we, my kids and I have sang the European cities and just bounced around to London, Paris, Barcelona, Rome, Orleans. London, Paris, Barcelona, Rome, Orleans. And we learned that Paris is on the Seine River last week. So the dot that's closest to the Seine River is Paris, and the other dot on our map is Orléans or Orleans. First conjugation endings, future tense. So this is to the tune of Three Blind Mice. Bo bisbit, bimis bitispunt, bo bisbit, bimis bitispunt. And one thing that I'm working on with my kids is saying the English. I shall, you will, he, she, it will, we shall, you will, they will. First conjugation, future tense, future tense. That's more a home thing for us, but I mean, hey, if you want to throw it in there. What are some cycles in nature? So these early science memory pegs for this cycle are really short. So you could just chant them if you want. What are some cycles in nature? Some cycles in nature are water cycle, like the YMCA, water cycle, carbon and oxygen cycle, nitrogen cycle, or bend over for nitrogen cycle. I don't know. But water cycle, carbon oxygen cycle, nitrogen cycle. Another thing that I've heard is to the tune Whistle While You Work. What are some cycles in nature? Some cycles in nature are water cycle, nitrogen cycle, carbon and oxygen cycle. Some cycles in nature are water cycle, nitrogen cycle, carbon and oxygen cycle. However you want to do it. Timeline, have fun with that. There is a lot of falls to Babylon, falls to Persia, Persia falls to Alexander the Great, and So keeping all of those straight will be fun. Tell me about the 100 Years' War. During the 100 Years' War, Joan of Arc and King Charles VII led the French to defeat the English at the Siege of Orleans. And I always forget the date for this next part, so to remember 3. So in the late 1340s, fleas on rats carried the plague which killed 1 out of 3. However you want, if you want to do any acknowledgement of death, you can. 1 of 3 Europeans. So in the late 1340s, fleas on rats carried the plague which killed 1 out of 3 Europeans. So objective pronouns. So we learned the nominative pronouns last week, which are the subject of the sentence. And these are all like connecting the dots now that I'm now have a third tour essentials student. So these are our objective pronouns. So these are ones that you would see as direct objects or other objects of the sentence. I think, well, I'm not going to go into that, but, focus on the object of the preposition or the objective pronouns. Erica Rhodes does a really great walking through the whole pronoun chart. So this one, she kind of gives the indication of, Cookie Monster starts with me wants cookie. Of course, that's grammatically incorrect, but that's a way to know that they start with me. Okay. He wants the object. He wants the cookie. The other thing that I use that for is it starts with an M with me and ends with a them with a because I tried recording this last week and I used a different word instead of them. So one of the songs that we use in our community has this funny voice and kind of stirring. So object, and you're making an O for objective. So like, oh, like this. Objective pronouns, objective pronouns, objective pronouns, objective pronouns. Me, you, him, her, it, us, you, them. Me, you, him, her, it, us, you, them. So you can, knowing this, you can say about me, about you, about him, her, it, about us, about you, about them. All right. So fine arts is perspective. I think it's called In Between the Lines is a great place for resources. Art with Allie is a great resource. In the Drawing with Children's book, there's kind of yes, it is a perspective. There's kind of in a cheat sheet, it talks about how maybe it could be for the littles. It's on page 85. I searched the index in this book, trying to find just some different words to look for perspective. I did find one talking about distance, I believe. And now on page 200 to 202. I think I saw something in here maybe about dimensions, like dimension, but I can't even find it now. It was anyways, I didn't find a lot in the drawing book for I meant to mark it, but again, I wasn't really impressed with a lot for perspective in this book. But again, this book is phenomenal for reading. But for ideas for the week, I printed off the first 7 weeks for my own tutors for CC Connected, just because I wanted to get them started and then encourage them to print off, the rest of the weeks for themselves. But I really, really love how they've created this for us to just have great ideas. Hello, kitty cat in the background. Looks like a sculpture now. So it's got some great stuff in there for the fine arts. It does talk in here about overlapping, but like, look, I couldn't even find anything in the drawing with children book under like Vanishing Point or really any of these. So, you know, using CC Connected in the Learning Center for Cycle 2, Week 5, or some of those other additional resources that I have put in your tutor binder, as well as, like I said, Art with Allie, In Between the Lines, Drawing Demystified. Those are some great resources that I've really enjoyed in the past few years. Hands-on Science. Hands-on Science is experiment number 13, Expanding, and number 16, In and Out. We are using Lighthouse Science classroom supplies. So for our community, week 5, the balloons are supplied, the markers are supplied. They are in your reusable item pack. And then for number 16, masking tape, metal spoon, and ruler are in your reusable pack. You do need a quote-unquote yardstick for number 16, so you should have at least three rulers in your tutor bin if you want to put 3 together to measure a yard, or if you want to talk about one measuring stick and use it to measure out 3 feet. It talks about that what's not supplied is a mirror. Now, for Expanding number 3, I could see using a mirror if you were doing this experiment by yourself, but each kid is allowed to participate, or if you just want to do this as the tutor demonstrating and having the kids watch the balloon, that is fine as well. So I'm not necessarily feeling the need to bring mirrors. If you want to bring mirrors, that is fine. But with this, they can attend and watch their partner expand, and then they can, you know, talk about what they see, and then their partner, you know, vice versa, they can take turns that way. Or like I said, the tutor can do it and the kids can all attend to what's going on. For In and Out, make sure that your spoon is extremely secure. And if you want to take that outside, you are more than welcome to take science outside and go from there. If you want to do a review game outside, great. And then, you know, or if you want to do review and then science and end up outside, I'll let the parents know where they're at, and you can spin a spoon to your heart's content. So that is science. What I want to emphasize in science is these naming sheets are fantastic. I know that my tutors have been using them a lot. I've posted them on the Facebook tutor page. I think they're on the band tutor page. I know they're on the band director page. They are not mine. I just have them from the last time the first year that I tutored. But it goes through the whole naming, attending, memorizing, expressing, and storytelling. Obviously, you don't have to do all of them, but it gives you a great jumping off point for asking questions. We have termed in our community the science aspect not into science experiments, but into wonder experiments. So the questions are great for that. A couple other things to talk about with that are asking the questions: what did we use? What did we do? What did we see? And what did we learn? Okay. Or what do you want? What do you want to know about this? Or what do you wonder about this? What do you already know about this? And what questions do you have? So those are some great questions to start getting the kids to ask questions. It's actually one of my favorite parts of the day, is just getting them thinking and actually getting time to see what they're thinking. So that is kind of my quick prep for the week. we have a tutor prep this coming Thursday. So be sure to check Band for time and place on that as a reminder. There's a few other things coming up this week in our personal calendar on Band, so make sure you're doing that as well. And I will talk to you later and see you in community soon. Until then, may all your thoughts be replaced with timeline lyrics.